What is up, everyone? Welcome to L2R2 PlayStation Podcast. My name's Fonzie. I'm joined by my co-host, Callum Monroe from across the pond. Callum, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. As you just mentioned with the weather a minute ago, it is really, really cold. So if you hear me like shivering at all, it will just be me trying to warm myself up.
Yep, same here. It's Callum, we got the old man talk out of the way with
Yeah,
traffic and weather. We can go on for days
yes,
about it, but
we
we can
did.
talk
Yeah,
about taxes and whatever else bugs you. But
yeah,
how you been? There's a past couple weeks here.
yeah. I've been good. Yeah, I've been. I got. I mean, it's going to sound very off topic, but I got myself a Xbox Series S. So I've
Whoa.
been acclimatizing to that mostly. And I've been watching some TV as well. Actually, I've been watching. I just started Mythic Quest today, and watched through sort of most of the first series, which was really really good. But yeah, so just been quite. Yeah, I've been playing some games, watching some TV. It's been quite nice actually.
So there's a couple things I want to jump on, and I've had this feeling in the back of my mind too. Like as I'm getting ready to record with you, all I've been playing has been Xbox. So I want to talk
Yeah.
to you about your experience with the Series X. But Mythic Quest, I've seen that show, and it's about game dev. Now that you're kind of in that world, how do you feel about that show? Is it, do they replicate stuff? Is it more of just like a wacky direction? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's probably like the same way The Office is to somebody who works in
Yeah.
printing or whatever it is. It's definitely uh, very it's a lot more like silly and it's very funny, so it's there's obviously a lot of differences, but I think they like focus on a lot of tropes and stereotypes and things, but they do it really well. And I mean there's obviously been some research, you can definitely tell with how it is, but yeah, I really really like it. It's really fun. I mean, I love Always Sunny, so I love like Rob McElhenney and those
Yeah.
guys and everything. But I loved I think it's episode 5, the like standalone episode, which I think was written by Rob McElhenney's sister.
Mm.
And it's like completely different to the rest of the series, and just on these like self-contained characters, unless they do come back later, and I don't know. But I thought it was just so good. Like it was like I was watching something completely different, and it was like really like emotional and like really well written, and it was funny, but that wasn't that like the aim like all the other episodes were. And I thought that was a really cool thing, just to have in like the middle of a series, just a completely unrelated episode that like tells like its own sort of story. I thought that was really cool as well. But yeah, I've been really enjoying that. So yeah, I'll hopefully be able to watch a few more tonight.
Yeah, I've been super interested in that. I think it's on Apple TV.
Yeah.
And I need to just get that in. And there's a couple shows on there that are locked that I need to watch. But I always like the idea of him tackling that world because with Always Sunny, the humor is very like dark, but they still wrap it up in a funny way. And I've
Yeah.
always loved that about that show. But I wonder if they can. Man, I took my tea, didn't work. That's cool, but still have a crappy throat. But I wonder with their brand of comedy, can they tackle stuff in the game dev world that is like hard to talk about or like, still topical and these issues that we talk about like crunch or other, sensitive things, like if they can still be serious and like put their spin on it, I feel like they have a cool voice that they could add to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely feel that from the show. I think um, that's probably the most accurate part, is the way it kind of has its own tropes to show you what the current tropes are in the industry. And the industry itself's very, it's not in the best place in terms of maybe like the culture of some studios and just the general industry. And so I think, yeah, it has a very good platform to sort of do some commentary on. And normally it's nice to not have to worry about a show being like centered on its commentary. But I think after seeing Always Sunny, you know that they're just so clever with the way they like integrate real life sort of things with like the nonsense that
Yeah.
the kind of storylines that they have. So yeah, I think in this particular case, it'll be really interesting to see how they do tackle it. And but so far, I think they've done a really good job. And yeah, I've been really really yeah, enjoying it.
That's cool. That's good to hear. Yeah, I got to watch that show. About the Series X, let's jump to that. You got one. They're the hardest ones to get. I have the Series S, got a couple months
Well,
ago.
no, I got a Series S, so it might have just been me
Uh,
speaking weird. But yeah, I got a Series S, yeah, because same reason that you just can't get the Series X's at
right.
all. And they're so cheap. I'm sure they weren't as cheap as they are now. Like, have they gone through a price drop or something? So I
No,
got
they
mine for
started at that price
249.
point.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, when was it I ordered? So I watched the Xbox, what was it, 20th anniversary thing, which by the way was horrendous. But the reason I got it was because I saw Max Payne 3 and a couple of other games talked about, and I just straight away assumed they were on Game Pass. And I was like, right, I've been
Oh,
thinking about getting one for a while. That's like pushed it over, so I'll grab one. So I ordered one, and then soon realised that that's not at all what it meant. But still Game Pass on the console is great, and like I said to you before, I've been playing that most of the time just because there's so much to like get into. Um, but yeah, I've had it for maybe a couple of weeks now, so I've definitely got used to some of the lovely Microsoft nuances that I have to deal with at work all the time using like Teams and all that stuff. But yeah, no, it's good. It's a nice to have for sure.
yeah. There's it's actually I think our last news story, but I'll jump to that just to get your point of view on it. But it was just the fact that so we in the States we just had Thanksgiving, then there's Black Friday, which is this historic shopping day where people lose their minds. But I guess there's already data on that, and the Xbox Series S was the most popular selling console. This is not from Microsoft themselves. They don't release any sales data still. I think they stopped after the 360 because the Xbox One had so many issues. But so this is from Video Games Chronicle. According to Adobe Digital Economy Index data, the cheaper Series S outsold both PS5 Switch OLED model and the more expensive Xbox Series X during the biggest holiday sale day of the year in the States, anyways. But it's pretty nuts. So it's the cheapest one. It's still next gen technically, and you can actually find it. So they've been, clearing house, I guess, at least in this short little holiday time frame. But it's a great move from Xbox, and I wonder if now we're not, inside the industry. We don't know how much it costs to produce this equipment, all that. But I wonder if PlayStation should take a route where it's some kind of stripped down PS5. They already have the digital, but some kind of even more stripped down PS5 that maybe doesn't have the big fan. Something a way to like compact it, make it cheaper. Would that be a good route for them to take? Some kind of like $300 model.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I think with the VR2 sort of on the horizon, it'd be a good time to try and like get something sort of done with that as well. Because if they're going to release like another iteration of console, it'd be good to try and like use it to sell something else too. And I think like the VR headset, and we've talked about whether they're going to have it like wirelessly or whatever. So kind of try timing something smaller with that, I think would be quite cool. But yeah, I think it makes sense that the Series S outsold, the PS5 and the Series X, mostly because there aren't any PS5s or Series X's to get, and also the price of the Series S is just so attractive because it's so low, and when paired with Game Pass, it's even better.
Yeah, I kept thinking when I saw that article, like I wonder if they could release some kind of stripped down PS5 that maybe focused on like 1440p resolution. It wasn't shooting for 4K, and you can't remove the disk drive. It already has that removed for the like digital PS5. But yeah, way to make that cheaper to compete right there with Xbox, or they just keep doing the thing they've been doing with PS5. I mean, people would buy that if they could find it. So it's not a matter of they're choosing one or the other. It's just like what's left. Xbox Series S. Okay, I'll take that. But it's still a great deal. It's a way to jump into next gen, and you have Game Pass, so it's a great motive. But yeah, I wonder if, and it's maybe too late now to like switch gears and try and produce some kind of slimline PS5. Now it's going to take a couple years, and you have the chip shortage. It's a whole thing. But yeah, I was just wondering about that. Alrighty, Callum. Well, we have some news stories we can jump into. Some of them are kind of backlogged from the past couple weeks. This one here is not related at all, but I saw this today and I want to get your take on it. It's not actually in the docket. This is from IGN. A UFO task force has been formed by the U.S. government. The United States Department of Defense has announced the formation of the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group, or an easier acronym is AOIMSG, which in some ways is the U.S.'s very own UFO task force, and they go on. So the U.S. government is looking for UFOs officially. And how do you feel about UFOs, Callum? Do you think they're real? Do you think we need to be looking for them? What's going on?
Yeah, I always like find them interesting. When I was younger, I used to always look at the videos of also both ones that you can see. But yeah, I've always been interested. But yeah, I just a UFO task force is I've got to say a very American sounding thing.
Yeah, they
I
give
think
them
just task
guns and they're
force.
gonna go look for them.
I think just task force in general, just like straight, just reminds me of like all the military sort of tropes.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's I think it's always cool when things like this are referenced, but you've always got to like think how pedantic they're being as well, because I guess UFO doesn't mean something alien necessarily. So
No, right.
I guess that always gives them like a fallback to pretend it's more boring than we hope it is.
Yeah, it's true. For some reason, we all, or at least like when it's official, when it's kind of government related, they need that fallback of, we don't know what it is. We're not gonna say aliens, but it's like, hey, dude, it's aliens if it's something that's, flying crazy that we can't produce and no other country can produce. Maybe China now can do this kind of crazy stuff. But although I watch videos of drones sometimes, and the way they zip around, it's like, okay, it's either aliens or drones from like
Yeah.
100 years in the future. But I don't know. Yeah, I grew up always loving it and being very curious. Although now, as an old man, we talked about the weather and traffic. I'm way more just I need more proof kind of thing. And right now
Yeah,
we have cool videos, but that's about
don't
it.
have the time. You just don't have the time to speculate anymore, do we? You just got too much to worry about.
Yeah, I got to be on TikTok. I got a lot of stuff I got to do that takes my time. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I don't know if this
Yeah.
task force will find anything or what.
Is that to go along with don't you guys have a space force now as well? Or was that scrapped?
No, we got the Space Force. We got all space cornered. We got the task force, the Space Force, and they're
Nice.
they're looking for aliens to try and, I don't know, tax them or
Makes me
something.
excited.
But
It makes me excited now I've seen The Expanse. I'm all for it. Just because like obviously it would never be in like our lifetime we'd ever see anything remotely like sci-fi-ish.
right,
So just like any snippet I can see whilst I'm here would be cool. So yeah, I'm happy for there to be a space force because I guess that like at the moment that's the leading sort of sci-fi thing that I can say I saw in my life is that there
true.
was a space force. So hopefully something else can top that.
Yeah, as far as sci-fi, all we have is like the dystopian sci-fi stuff in our lifetime,
Yeah.
like no housing and people working at Amazon having to like pee in bottles.
Yeah.
It's like it's all the worst
Yeah.
parts of that,
Yeah.
and not the
Yeah.
cool jetpacks.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully we'll get a good one to make us forget all the horrible ones.
Yeah, here's hoping.
Yeah.
Well, Calum, here's the first actual PlayStation news, or really gaming news in general. So we had the Game Awards nominees announced, a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I pulled just the big ones here because there's a bunch of awards, which is dope. But some of the big ones here, the first one are Game of the Year. So we have Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. I want to get your take on these six Game of the Year nominees.
So I only played two of them, which shows how bad I've been with playing games this year. But yeah, I don't know. I really can't speak on like Metroid Dread. I haven't seen much of Psychonauts 2, although I do want to play it. And yeah, I've seen more of It Takes Two and Ratchet and Clank, but again, haven't played either of them. I mean, even if I had played them, I'd still hazard a guess that I'd say Resident Evil Village, just because I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, I've heard great things about Metroid Dread in particular, and that's
Yeah,
always a difficult one. So I'm very separated from Nintendo, sort of, and have been for a while. I don't have a Switch. Haven't really played much of their games recently, so it's difficult for me to know how good that game could potentially be. So yeah, I'd have to go with Resident Evil.
yeah, I hear you. I've dabbled in a lot of them. I think the only one I haven't played is Metroid Dread. I played maybe 30 minutes of Psychonauts 2, and it's really interesting, really cool. Um, but yeah, I loved It Takes Two. So I played with Gavin. We took us like, I think we streamed it, played like 2 hours at a time. So it took us, I don't know, a month to go through. Surprisingly long. But I was thinking from the get go when we were playing that, oh, this is my game of the year. And that was back in like January, February of this year. So I loved It Takes Two. That's my pick of the year for sure. Although just getting off playing Forza Horizon 5, I loved that game. So it's like I would love to see some representation here for that game. There's controversy with it's a driving game. They never get game of the year, blah, blah, blah. But I would go It Takes Two. If you were to throw your own nominee in there for game of the year, what was your game of the year, top of your head for this year?
God. Um, I mean, it'd probably be Resident Evil Village, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's probably the most impressed I've been with the game this year. I'm just trying to think what else I've played that came out this year. Um, I mean,
Yeah,
I
this year
really,
a lot of stuff
yeah,
got pushed this year.
yeah. I mean, I'm really at the moment enjoying, from what I've played, the new Halo as well, but I think that's very late and obviously a bit more difficult to rate against games like this. But yeah, I'd probably say Resident Evil Village is the best game that I've played that came out this year.
Yeah. And it's all relative, or, it's based on your personal experience. So like when we all
Yeah.
freak out over this game didn't get nominated or
Yeah.
this game won, it's like,
Yeah.
it's subjective. So,
And there's so many of
um,
them now, so many awards and things.
right.
So I'm sure like your favorite game will get at least one.
I think they kind of do that. They kind of pad stuff around. Like Forza wasn't in game of the year, but there's a couple of other categories it's in where you kind of get some love there. Yeah, with this game of the year, I mean, these are all great picks. And I would go It Takes Two, but we'll move on. We got best game direction here: Deathloop, It Takes Two, Returnal, Psychonauts 2, or Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. What do you think about best game direction?
I'd Again, the only one out of these I've played are Deathloop and Returnal, but I would probably imagine Ratchet and Clank would be the one I would say, just because of how great it looks, and how like impressive it is. Probably the most. I mean, out of that and Returnal, they're probably the most like impressive technically and like next gen wise, out of all of those. So I'd maybe, but I guess it depends on what you class as best direction. I mean, they're all obviously worthy. Again, I haven't seen much Psychonauts 2, but the first one's great, so I'm sure the second one is. I mean, maybe It Takes Two as well, because that, like you said, everyone's loved it, and it's not often you get a co-op game like that that is so universally loved. You know, we've seen lots of attempts at games like this that are cool, but they never really make much. They don't make a lot of noise. Whereas It Takes Two, like, really, I think took a lot of people by storm. So I guess that kind of puts it in a league of its own, where it's kind of the first of its kind, where it's like a really, co-op, exclusively co-op pretty much, game that's being talked about with all the best games of the year.
Yeah, and I guess it's how we break down game direction itself. Is it how we're directing the player, how we kind of arrange the levels mixed with the gameplay and the pacing? If that's all tied together, then I would say It Takes Two. I would agree, where there's so many variances in like the kind of games that you're playing within that game. Then you have the co-op stuff going on and how you rely on each other and the story unfolding at the same time. Really, really good. I know people loved how Returnal, plays around with just with the whole loop kind of aspect to it. Although what we talked about before, it was too hard for me. Psychonauts 2 people loved for that same direct reason as well. Yeah, it's tough. I would go It Takes Two, but I think I'm more biased where anything it pops up on, best multiplayer game I'm playing, I'm saying It Takes Two. But we got that. One of the last ones here, second to last, is best audio design. We have Deathloop, Forza Horizon 5, Ratchet, Resident Evil, and Returnal. What do you think about that?
I don't know. It's a hard, it's a hard one for me. I think they're all. I mean, again, I can't. I've played all of them except Ratchet and Clank, but all the ones I have played have had really great sound. I mean, it's a really hard one. I wouldn't know which one to sort of put above the other, but yeah, I've got to say all four of those games that I've played there have all impressed me, like particularly with the sound. So yeah, that'd be a really really tough one. I'd probably just go with Resident Evil because I just think it's the best game out of the sort of lot this year.
Now, Returnal, the whatever 3-4 hours I played of that, only the first biome, I was really impressed with. They mix the DualSense features with the sound, but like you kind of feel the raindrops and what's going on, and different attacks kind of give you that different pulse on the DualSense. I was really impressed with the sound on Returnal, so and how they kind of mix that with the DualSense. So I would maybe go that direction, but with Forza Horizon 5, it sounds great. You have the cars making all their vroom vroom sounds, and it sounds accurate from what I can tell. That was cool too. Deathloop has, I don't know if I'd put that in best audio design. It's more visually, stunning and unique, but And then you have Resident Evil Village with all that stuff, all the cool sound stuff going on. So, yeah, I would say Returnal, but it's tough. And these are all great picks. That's the thing. It's like every lineup we go through, they're all great picks. Now, best performance. So some of these we have played, right? So we have Eric Mori as Alex Chen in Life is Strange: True Colors. We have Giancarlo Esposito as Anton Castillo from Far Cry 6. Jason Kelly as Colt Vaughn in Deathloop. Maggie Robertson as Lady Dimitrescu in Resident Evil. And Ozioma Akagi as Juliana Blake in Deathloop. What do you think about these performances for at least what you've played?
Yeah, I think a standout one is Lady Dimitrescu, and that character was everywhere before the game was even out. So obviously that's a big one, because the the person playing the character makes a big part of how that character looks as well. But then also I've heard that I can't quite read that, Giancarlo Esposito
Yeah.
from Far Cry 6. I've heard that that's good as well, and in the trailers I've seen that's been pretty sort of like movie level sort of looking. But yeah, I think I'd have to say Lady Dimitrescu. I wasn't massively blown away by the characters in Deathloop. So I'd probably have to go with Lady Dimitrescu, which I think is quite a not an obvious choice, but probably quite a standout one there.
I would agree with you 100%. Yeah, she kind of took over that character and that became such a big meme and really helped, Resident Evil in itself kind of just take over the internet. So I would, 100% go with Maggie Robertson. Although with the Giancarlo Esposito in Far Cry 6, so he's a well-known actor. He's in Breaking Bad. He's a great villain, right? But the motion capture in Far Cry 6, so I played a good amount of it. It's a bit weird and wonky where they have this high caliber actor, but they needed like a Naughty Dog level performance capture for the face. So because they have, whatever Ubisoft engine, it just looks off, like as you're playing it. It looks kind of strange. It's not replicating everything he's doing on his face. And so it falls short because of that. Like if they had an extra, just a higher tier, ability to capture what's going on with the facial capture, I think it would have been great because he's acting, he's doing a great job, but it's like it doesn't transfer over to his face and what's going on. They still look kind of weird and plasticky, but
Yeah.
that's my only negative on that.
And also the mocap and facial animations in Resident Evil Village I thought were amazing. I thought that was like a massive part of Resident Evil Village that we don't really see much in Resident Evil. I mean, 7 for sure started it off, but I found Village to a point. I think it got pretty silly towards the end, like all Resident Evil games do. I think to a point was like really like movie level. When you arrive at that house and there's lots of like survivors in there, and one of them turns into a lichen, and like there was some really like insane sort of scenes in and performances, especially from there's like such a massive cast of characters in Village as well. So I think it would make sense to pick out somebody from that game, and Lady Dimitrescu is the obvious standout.
Yeah, you're right. With the facial capture, it's just next level. Although I've been seeing on TikTok, I've been seeing these. I don't know if it's mods or what they're doing, but on PC on Resident Evil Village, they're able to turn up the animations by a certain percentage and exaggerate them. I don't know if you've seen that. So I don't know why
Yeah,
the game engine has that where you can toggle it, but like you can turn it up to 400%, and their faces are just crunching and really exaggerated. It's hilarious, but it's like, why does the
yeah.
engine let you do that? I guess it's all physics based or something.
I, I do love that about the RE engine, is how open it is to people, because obviously you see all the like funny character models that people play it as, and I think it even works like the other way. I'm pretty sure I see people using Resident Evil models, like Jill from like the Resident Evil 3 remake and stuff, in other games as well.
Oh,
Um, so it's really cool. I love seeing like all the Mr. X mods that people did,
right.
and all of that. Um, but it's quite cool because I think Resident Evil's always been a place for like just you to mess around in. Like it's always like obviously even like the first game is a very tense, scary, eerie game the first time you play it, but then afterwards it just opens up and becomes this kind of sandbox where you can play it however you want, and try and finish the game in certain ways with certain disadvantages and things. And I think nowadays having like the engine be so accessible to people who want to mod it is like is like a really nice way to like continue that kind of sandbox nature of Resident Evil.
Yeah, and whether Capcom wants to admit or not, that helps. That gives the game legs. When you see these weird clips every once in a while, you're reminded, like, oh yeah, I want to go play that.
Yeah.
So it's a great idea, and you're right where they kind of linked it together from the get go, where it's like once you play that experience, you need something to keep you going back to it. So with the different, you know, carrot on the stick aspects of like going to find the rocket launcher or speed run through it, it's like they've done that from the get go, and now it's even more so with like these PC releases.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's just like to segue slightly. I think it's just such a good time for Resident Evil with Village being like. 'Cause I think Seven was slightly not. I mean, it was obviously like critically acclaimed, but I think it was quite divisive as well. Whereas I think Village is, that's like the best I've seen Resident Evil and the way people react to it since probably four. And we
Sure.
also got four on Oculus as well, which is great. So I just love it, and I just love seeing Resident Evil like back at the top, and I can't wait for it to go back down again.
Yeah, it's
I'll be there. I'll be there for it.
nice. So we got the last one here, best action games. We played a couple of these. So we got Back for Blood, Chivalry 2, Deathloop, Far Cry 6, and Returnal. What do you think? I know you played some Back for Blood and you dipped into a couple of these, but what do you think for best action game?
Yeah, it's annoying because Chivalry 2 is one I really really want to play. I loved the first game, so I'm sure that's really good. But yeah, I mean, out of the ones I have played, I've got to say that the most fun I've had out of those was on Back for Blood, but I know it was very, a little bit, especially in comparison to Deathloop and Returnal, it was a little bit broken in areas, and it has the problem where you can't really play it solo because there's no progression in solo. So
Mm,
as much as I did definitely have the most fun playing it, but as much as I didn't get on with it, I think Deathloop had some pretty good action. Um, had some good reasons to be experimental with the way you combat and traverse the the sort of levels and things. So yeah, as much as it's definitely not one of my favorite games of the year, I think Deathloop has a pretty solid action sort of part of it. So maybe that, but yeah, again, I'm not sure.
yeah, people they love Returnal. I feel like that's going to end up winning it at the end of the
Yeah,
day. Um,
forgetting about. I think it's just because I haven't played it in so long, and it was like before I had like this few month lull where I didn't really play much. So, but yeah, I mean, I did love playing Returnal, and yeah, that was great as well. Putting a bullet hell kind of game into a third person from a bullet hell kind of studio, so it was always going to be great. So yeah, I think for me, I think Returnal and Deathloop are probably on another level to the other games in terms of action.
yeah, I would imagine they give it to Returnal. Even the bit I played and couldn't really progress further, I could still tell like this is a solid game. Like I can tell the action, the gameplay is really fun, really satisfying. It was just that what we talked about before, where it was just too hard for me to progress through, and I need to go back, give it some more time. We have a new story on Returnal 2 as well. We'll get to, but I did play a bunch of Far Cry 6, and it's more of that sandboxy, FPS, and it was fun. I think this is the last one where they need to really mess with the formula a little bit, but it was still great to play. Deathloop, I wish I had more fun with, but I'm sure Returnal's gonna end up winning this at the end of the day. But yeah, some of the big ones for Game of the Year or Game Awards rather, it's coming up in December. So they have their cutoff time, which is like November something. So I know Forza Horizon just barely got in there for some of the nominees, but Halo multiplayer is not included because it just came out 2 weeks ago now. It'll be 2 weeks on Monday tomorrow. But I wanted to segue into Halo, even though PlayStation, yeah, blah blah blah. But we've been playing a lot of it. How do you feel about Halo Infinite?
I mean, it's definitely the best Halo multiplayer game I've played since Halo's heyday. It's really really fun. Plays really really well. I've been mostly playing ranked arena, mostly just because I like the battle rifle. I'm not very good with any of the other guns, but I've played a couple of like the big team modes as well, and yeah, it's great. And I think it definitely has some problems in regards to it feels like there's not a lot to it at the moment. I think that's mostly down to the fact you can't really choose what game modes you want, which in turn affects people playing the objective, which I've seen lots of people complaining about as well. And also, obviously, the progression system is just it's hard to criticize because it's free to play, but there's just nothing to it. Like you finish a game, you don't really feel like you've progressed or improved your character or anything, and so I think there's definitely some problems with it. But yeah, gameplay wise, which is the most important thing, especially considering this is probably just going to span for years and years. We're not going to be worrying about how the progression system was, a week before release in 5-6 years time when everyone's still playing it. So, but yeah, it's great fun, and I'm glad to see Halo sort of be appreciated, and I'm really really excited for the campaign as well.
Yeah, same here. I mean, the exact same thoughts I have. And, even though we're a PlayStation podcast, I think it's just, you can't help but bring it up. We're playing it. And also, PlayStation doesn't have their big juggernaut this holiday. And Xbox has, been great at, now they're seeing they planted the seeds. Now the fruit is coming out, where you have Forza Horizon being great, people loving it. You have Infinite. So they're kind of owning this holiday season, and PlayStation doesn't have their exclusive. But as far as, even then, on top of that, PlayStation doesn't have their massive FPS, which we've begged over and over again, talked about Killzone or Resistance. Like, they have these great properties, and Xbox has taken this route where it's like, what do we have that we own that we need to bring back that people love? They've been doing that. And I would love to see PlayStation do that same thing, especially since they don't have anything to compete with something on this caliber of like an FPS. But yeah, they nailed it with the multiplayer. My only issue is that progression system, just feeling like you're unlocking stuff, because it's been done well before. Like, I played a bunch of Fortnite, and people love Destiny too, where they have understood how to calibrate the progression system and make you feel like you're earning stuff and give you that carrot on the stick. And you think that 343 would be able to see that data and go, okay, we'll take these aspects and kind of copy it and make it better. But it's just kind of, you don't feel like you're unlocking stuff. And if you go through your levels that are possible to upgrade, there's a lot of cool stuff there, but it's all locked away to these crazy high tiers, and it takes so long to upgrade or to level up. It's just kind of a bummer, but it doesn't matter, I guess, at a certain point, because the gameplay is so damn fun. So we'll just keep rolling it. But that's my only negative knock. I know that they are working on, they have added little upgrades. So if you complete a game, you get 50 XP. That's cool. But you can be like a master in one match. That happens for me, every 20 matches. I have one where I'm just like mowing people down, doing my slingshot thing, and then nailing people with a grenade, sticky grenade. And then I go to the end match and nothing happened. Like, I didn't unlock anything, even though I felt like I was doing really good. That's my only negative on that.
Yeah, and I think it's also a little bit like you said. It's just you can play really really well, and then you'll get like the same, if not less, score than someone who did really badly, but they finished a challenge or something.
Right.
It's not. I don't think anyone's played Halo to really care too much about the customization of their character or unlocking anything, because it's not like you choose your loadout or anything. But I think there just needs to be something to kind of like entice you to like play that next game, if that makes sense. And I just feel like at the moment it's not really there, but the game itself is just so great, and it feels great to play. And I think I've said before, I am most excited for the single player.
Yeah.
Just because I think the gameplay's so good, and I prefer single player games, so I'm just excited to be able just to play it in the story mode or whatever. But I have noticed some pretty I caught it reminds me of how as soon as like somebody sees someone like gliding in a game, and they'll say it's like Breath of the Wild, even though it has happened in loads of other games. I saw someone playing like the preview of the Halo campaign, and they were like going absolutely mental because there was like a camp, or like a kind of like like the bandit camps in like Ubisoft games,
Yeah.
and they were like acting like it was like the first time it ever happened. And I think we're going to get a lot of that because it is a new Halo, and I've got friends at work who are like just so defensive over Halo. Like, as soon as you say a single bad thing about it,
Yeah.
so it's nice because like I do think it genuinely looks really good. So I am really really, because normally it can be a bit off-putting when you see people acting like this, but I think the gameplay speaks for itself. And I've been I think we both said the first trailer that came out for it before it was delayed and before everyone said it looked awful. I thought it looked really good. Like that game they showed then, I thought looked great. So
Yeah.
yeah, the more obviously time they've had is why it's so refined and polished. So yeah, very very excited for that one.
Yeah, and Halo's been on this kind of this downfall after around the release of 5, where they're trying to, figure out what do people want, how do we bring this into the next generation. I think they nailed that by adding the open world aspects to it. Of course, it's going to rub people the wrong way, and they're going to compare it to, say, like a Ubisoft game where that's what's going on. But I admire that they're willing to take that chance and still, pretty much from what I can see, nail it. A lot of the previews have been really positive too. It's just to take it back to PlayStation. I wish they had that same willingness to go back to the mind and see what they have that they can bring back to life. And something like Resistance would be great. And they don't have to make it open world, not the same thing at all, but kind of look at the gameplay, see what they can improve. If you look at, I was going to say Resistance, but it's not Resistance. It is Killzone. Killzone, one of the last ones on PS4, that had open world aspects to it. At least the levels were open, so they were kind of changing the dynamic a little bit. So I want to see more of that, but bring those properties back. I feel like there's so much they could do. If you look at Doom, they didn't; those levels weren't open, but they felt you could. They're still very sandboxy. You could really change how you're approaching stuff. Every enemy needed their own attack. So I just PlayStation's just dropping the ball, man. They have so many cool properties. I'm hoping that they're taking the time and looking at what their catalog has that they haven't worked on in a while, and they have something in the fray that they could bring back and compete in the space. But I just hope that they care about it like the community does.
Yeah, and I think it's always good because we say all the time it's very fickle. 1 month something comes out and it's now the top thing. Next month something else comes out, and then that's the top thing. But the cool thing about this is the first time I think there's been a exclusive shooter like that's this good and everything. So maybe this will like force the hand to create something, bring back something like Resistance or something like Killzone, because
Right.
I know those games have never reached the heights that Halo did, but they've also never reached the lows it did. I don't think it never, did a Halo 4 and 5, where people were like, "Oh, this game's bad." Like they've got great track records, both those series, so they don't really, they're going to have a fan base that just think well about it. That you don't have anyone that like with Halo, where people are a bit dubious because of the other two games.
Yeah, it's interesting, and yeah, that's all I'm playing right now is Halo Infinite. Although I'm playing Infinite and then multiplayer, and then my wife is really hard into the new Skyrim remaster that came out, and so I'll be playing that and then watching her play that,
Mhm.
and it gets me more excited for the campaign of Infinite too because it's actually mixing those two aspects together. But um, I'm really impressed with the quality of that Skyrim remaster. It looks really, really good. I don't know if you've watched any footage or had any desire to jump in, but if you own the last remaster compilation thing they did, then it's 10 or $20 to get the PS5 version. And it's just, 4K running 60 frames per second, but it looks really, really good for how old it is. Really surprised, and it almost makes me want to jump into that game too. I just sunk so many hours into Skyrim where I think I'm set for a lifetime, but it looks really good.
Yeah, I've never been the biggest fan of Skyrim, but I've always wanted to make. I've tried going back to it so many times, and every time it's like a new iteration of it, I'm always like, oh, maybe I'll try it, and maybe this time I'll be in the right headspace for it or whatever. But I've just never been able to just get into it. It's always sort of not bored me, but just never clicked with me for whatever reason. So, but this might be, a good reason to try it. And the thing with Game Pass, which I guess it's on Game Pass, um, means you can just try things, and if they're not for you, you can just delete them and go on about your life.
Right. That's great. All right, Colin, we'll transition here to the next news story we got. So, some news about jailbreaking the PS5. Hackers are close to jailbreaking the PS5. This is from TheVerge.com. Hackers may have just made some big strides towards possibly jailbreaking the PlayStation 5. Hacking group Fail Overflow claims to have managed to obtain PS5 root keys, allowing them to decrypt the console's firmware. Additionally, Andy Nguyen, a security engineer at Google, managed to access the PS5's debug settings menu on a retail PS5 back in early November. The two exploits are particularly notable due to the level of access they theoretically give to the PS5 software, allowing hackers to further reverse engineer the PS5 software and potentially develop the sort of hacks that allowed for things like installing Linux or emulators or even pirated games on past Sony consoles. Obviously, Sony is presumably working on software updates to halt these efforts. Callum, how do you feel about this? Do you think they're going to get very far? And I imagine, yeah, Sony is working hard to not allow this to happen.
Yeah, it's similar to what happened with like the Vita as well, where people would always jailbreak it and hack it and turn them into little emulators, and then Sony released an update, and so it'll probably just be a lot of back and forth, I imagine. But yes, it's funny to see how soon people are trying to do this.
Yeah, you kind of can't stop it. That community will jailbreak and try and you know hack this stuff always. That's always going to be the race for this kind of thing. And yeah, the only negative is it's because of like say the first the PSP, people are able to completely hack into that, and then it from what I understand, apparently it hurt sales and led to Sony adding things in the Vita that were less consumer friendly, but they were trying to stop people from hacking the software and loading whatever they want on there. It's interesting, and I wonder if there's not going to be any fallback for something like this that happens into the next PlayStation if it's less consumer friendly, like the PSP. I don't know, and I'm too dumb to try and do any of this, nor do I care enough to do this.
Yeah, it's just a pain in the ass, isn't it? I mean, I think especially when you have a computer. I say I have a computer. My computer's on its way out, but like it's just. I mean, I guess it's like a hobby for a lot of people, or it might even be a way of like learning for them. But it is just like, oh, how do you have the energy to do that to
Right.
something so difficult to get as well and expensive? Um, but saying that, I do. I mean, it's actually completely unrelated, but it reminded me I want to build a PC for for the living room in a GameCube. So I've got a GameCube and I've had it for ages, but I've never used
Yeah.
it. I doubt I ever will. So I kind of want to try and gut it and build a little PC in there, because I've always wanted like a lounge PC so that I could like download films completely legally and have them all sort of on that. But
Yeah.
um, I imagine if I do try to and this way and just sack it off because it's too hard.
Yeah. I was going to say, have you made any strides? I remember you telling me about that.
No, I actually managed to find a Reddit post of someone who did the exact same thing.
Oh,
And they listed all the components they got, because I think that's the hard part, is trying to source like a decent enough components that will fit in there. But yeah, it sounds like it's doable. So obviously, like airflow and things, a big one. But I'm hoping this
yeah.
guy's done it. Then he'll have some tips on that too. But yeah, I thought it'd be like a nice little hobby to get into. I'm trying to stop going out drinking and eating so much, which is difficult in a city, but I'm
Right.
trying.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the same way you feel about these, like that as a potential cool, project. It seems like
Mm,
these hackers, same way. They
yeah.
like that challenge of jailbreaking stuff, and I don't have it, but I have that same thing you have, where it's like I like to tinker, and that sounds like a dope idea, putting a PC in a GameCube. But yeah, we'll see what happens with this jailbreaking.
Yeah.
Don't know. Alrighty, Cam, we got the next one here. I don't know if you've been following the GTA drama with the trilogy, but we got GTA Trilogy Patch 1.02 fixes huge list of bugs on PS5 and PS4. This is from pushsquare.com. A big bug squashing update for GTA Trilogy is now live on PS5 and PS4. Rockstar Games made a website post this week in which they started by saying, "We want to provide an update regarding the unexpected technical issues that came to light." The company stated that it has ongoing plans to address the technical issues and to improve each game going forward. General fixes include improvements to incorrect or misplaced textures, character models, and audio skipping. How do you feel about the? There's been tons of bugs, put online and weird glitches and stuff. Aside from how the game looks and performs, and it's been, it's an old game now, but there's been a lot of drama with how Rockstar handled this remaster, if you call it that, and how they also start off this update by saying that there was unexpected technical issues. I'm sure they had every clue what was going on before they released this. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's been pretty funny to follow. I was actually quite excited for it. I think the trailer they released showed off the art in a slightly different way to how it actually is in the final thing. Especially as you've seen people going into like less focused on areas, and it just looks like so low effort. So I'm glad I didn't, you know, dive in and buy any of these, because you know maybe they'll get sorted, but I don't think it's also just I don't think it's just the bugs that are the problem. I think it just seems quite low effort in a lot of ways. So yeah, it's a shame. Hopefully it will start getting patched. There's another game that's just released a patch that's meant to fix it. Oh, the new Battlefield as well is apparently
Oh,
being fixed, because that's also broken. But I actually bought that one, so
oh no.
been considering getting a refund, because it's pretty not it's not in a good way.
Yeah, yeah. I want to get to Battlefield too, but yeah, I just found it really strange the way they would word it, where they weren't aware of the bugs, and I'm confident, you know, bug testers, play testers found this stuff, and it just seems to frame the fact that this remaster wasn't given the love it should have been for such a, you know, a well-loved trilogy of games, and Rockstar being so big. It seems like it was just like minimal effort required. People have actually broken down some of the techniques they think they're doing with like upscaling textures and resolution, and think that that's why a lot of the weird texture model or character models have you know, come to light, because of using other like programs or AI to just like automatically kind of up res and fix stuff. So it seems like maybe there wasn't a lot of actual human work on this. They just kind of ran this through some kind of sim, upgraded it, and said, okay, fine, we'll sell it. And I don't know at the end of the day if that's what's going on, but it's just very minimal like effort on this thing. And for such a huge property, it's you think they would spend the time, but yeah, there's been a lot of criticism on that front.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder why they even bothered, with, like you said, like the just the low effort, and they might as well just not have released it. I mean, these games are still playable on the next gen consoles and mobile phones and everything. It does make you wonder why they even bothered, to be honest. It's like they've got just you know, too much money to even like care about about what they're
Right.
doing.
Yeah, they removed a lot of these from the various online stores, and I think after the backlash of the release here, they at least re-release them or put those games back on PC platforms. But in addition to put out this remaster, they removed a way to download these games on like PSN and that kind of thing. So it's like, is it just a cash grab where it's like, we don't want you to buy the old ones, buy this one because it's now, you know, full retail price? It's strange, but then it's, you know, broken, or the original ones run better than this remaster. So it's, you think they'd have enough money to not do weird stuff like that, but they're still a corporation or whatever, huge business, and they just follow the same kind of mantra. But yeah, Cal, we got that. People are not too happy. We'll see if they fix it at the end of the day. All right, we got the next one here. Some news on The Last of Us TV show. Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann wraps work on The Last of Us TV series. It's from GameRant.com. Druckmann's contributions to The Last of Us HBO series have varied between roles as co-writer, executive producer, and now director, as Druckmann's photo of a notable clapperboard depicts. But with the photo shared of a scenic Canadian skyline, Druckmann states that his time in Canada has come to an end. Druckmann is now escaping Canada's frigid weather and returning to Naughty Dog to perhaps continue working on an unannounced game, whether it is set in the Last of Us franchise, another franchise such as Uncharted, or a completely new Naughty Dog IP. And The Last of Us is currently still in production. So Neil Druckmann's work has finished on The Last of Us TV show, and just kind of recapping that it has ended, but the show is still filming, but at least his contributions are done. But I know he was directing a couple of episodes, but I'm hoping that because his time is done, maybe we get a summer release. I'm wondering how close this thing is to being actually, you know, on our TVs.
Yeah, I think the longer that goes on, the more we hear about it, just the more excited I get for it. I'm really looking forward to this now, and I don't think I was when it was first announced. But yeah, yeah, it's interesting I actually assumed Neil Druckmann was sort of part of the whole thing, but I guess it makes sense because he's ultimately doing sort of two jobs at once. Um, but yeah, really excited for this, and I love seeing all the sort of behind the scenes photos that I don't think are like official, but people have like managed to grab. Just yeah, starting to get, you know, a bit of excitement for this, and from what I've seen, it looks like a lot of other people are in the same boat, which is cool.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of leaked stuff online. I'm kind of trying to avoid it, but there's apparently they just let people onto the set or whatever. But there's a lot of footage and just pictures of what's going on, and it all looks cool. But I'm trying to avoid some of the spoiler stuff. I just kind of want to experience it. not that it spoils, but I guess just spoils the feeling of watching it for the first time, their depiction of it. But yeah, no, same where I'm super excited for this. I want to see what they do with it. I want them to also make radical different changes from the game, and I'm maybe one of the few people that feel that way, but I just like the idea of we have the games and the story unfolds the way that they did. Cool. I want them to do something different. They're going to follow the same lines. I get it, but like I'm more excited for them to kind of switch up what happens and different takes on characters. But I might be an outlier, but that's what I want.
Yeah, I think there's a huge potential here, and I think it's something that maybe it's difficult to imagine before it's out, but this could become like a massive thing, like, Walking Dead kind of size, where, Walking Dead's based on the comic, and they differ, greatly because
Yeah.
the series is trying to build its own universe, its own stamp, its own, version of the story. So I think, yeah, it'd be really cool to have something that is, you know, based on, and the foundations of the game is what spurred on these characters and these events. But yeah, to sort of take it in its own direction and create its own drama, like you said, I think it will follow the general beats, like the important parts, but there's so much in between that it can just do whatever it likes with. And I think as long as the characters, for people who have played the game, as long as the characters are at least in how they act, and the decisions they make, as long as they're kind of consistent with the characters we know, I think that's an important part. But yeah, so far everything looks great, and I'm kind of happy for it to go whatever way it wants to. I'm just really, really curious to see how it will be.
Yeah, same. Can't wait. Hoping it's soon. All right, Cam, we got the next one here. PlayStation exclusive SIFU gets release date shuffle and new details on age mechanics. So this here is from the PlayStation blog, and we have marketing manager at Slow Clap has the actual blog post. In SIFU, our hero has one powerful tool to help them on their quest, an ancient pendant that can heal them back to life, but nothing is ever free. The pendant has to be fueled with life energy, and every time they get back up, they will age. Aging will not make you weaker, but has a slight impact on your abilities. As you get older, you will trade maximum health for offensive power. Your character's model will also showcase how old you are. Getting older has no drawbacks on your abilities, and you'll be able to complete the game at any age. Each death allows you to unlock perks, each one with different costs or requirements. Skills and perks can also be unlocked in game between missions and through shrines found. Upgrades are not lost upon death. The more you die, the faster you will age. The first time you die, you'll age by 1 year. Second time by 2 years. The third by 3, and so on. The only way to lower or reset your death counter is to use one of the available shrines or beat specific enemies, such as chapter bosses. So some more details on how the gameplay unfolds and like how the aging mechanic works. But how do you feel about SIFU? So it's a PS or PC and PS5 exclusive. Looks really cool. But what are you thinking about what we know so far?
Yeah, I think it looks really, really cool. When it was first announced, I really liked the look of it, and I think as more details have come out about the aging mechanic, I think it sounds really cool. Sounds like a really original sort of idea. Yeah, I think it looks really cool. It's definitely something that there's not too many games that I'm too excited for, but this one is definitely one that I'm looking forward to playing.
Yeah, this dev Slow Clap, I guess they made this game called Absolver, which has, if you look back at footage of that, there's a lot of this kind of the bones of the fighting engine that they have created, and with the different like fight styles. So it seems really cool from that to see what they're doing with Sifu. I'm very stoked for this, and also in the part of that blog post, they announced that Sifu will now release February 8th in 2022 rather than on February 22nd. And it seems obvious they're trying to avoid Elden Ring, which launches on the 25th. So trying to give this more breathing room before everyone jumps into Elden Ring. But yeah, no, it looks really cool. Another little tidbit: it's now been confirmed that the game won't have difficulty options, at least not at launch. So maybe in the future, we'll see if hopefully it's not a Returnal situation for me. But if there's difficulty options at some point, that's pretty cool. But I have no idea how hard this game's going to be. All right, Callum. We got the next one here. We'll switch over. Ba-ba-ba. Some boring news on this new patent. So Sony's own patent for removable PS5 faceplates published from PlayStationLifestyle.net. Sony's patent for customizable faceplates for the PS5 console has now or finally been made public. This has prompted speculation that the console manufacturer may be considering making its own swappable faceplates and skins. So kind of a boring one, but showing that, hey, we're getting hopefully some Sony branded faceplates here for the PS5. There's drama with other third parties wanting to do it, and they're trying to sue them and other legal drama. But you think that this would have been something kind of early on developed or launched with the PS5? These options to trade out your skins on the outside. But what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think for me, I've always thought, and until my console's really old and I just like start kicking it around and stuff, I always like don't like to put stickers on or third party things. So I know it sounds really stupid, but if there was like an official, red PlayStation or green plate or whatever it is, I think I'd be more inclined to maybe look into it. I probably wouldn't end up doing it just because I don't really want to mess around with it. Maybe if there was a black one. Um, but yeah, I think it's exciting that we might be getting some official stuff. But and you would have thought they would have just allowed third party people to do their own thing as well. Because I think, like I said, there is something to be said for just getting like the official stuff for something like a games console. So I think either way they'd probably still be fine. But yeah, maybe they just want to rule the market.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on. But people do want to buy this kind of stuff. So you think that they would, be faster on the draw with this kind of thing with comparing them to Xbox with all the different crazy controllers they keep putting out. And you have like a Halo Infinite themed Xbox Series X. They're really ahead of the game when it comes to these different, different versions or just cooler versions of what they already have. And PS5 doesn't have that, or PlayStation in general. So they did have those DualSense controllers come out last year with that were the two different colors. I know they're like space themed. There's like a maroon and a black. Those are cool, but I'd like to see them really, just go harder with these different dual senses, different face plates. Hopefully they do that. It would just be neat to have. But yeah, especially if it's like Sony branded, then we know everything's going to click in there and work properly. All that stuff.
Yeah.
But we got another patent here. This is also from PlayStationLifestyle.net. New Sony patent may indicate that the PS5 is getting a UI upgrade. A new patent from Sony suggests that the big change may be coming to the PS5 UI and possibly future PlayStation consoles as well. The new patent describes a system that allows players to switch to other applications on their console without having to leave a game. This is a major step from the current UI, which forces players to back out of the home menu before entering other applications. So that's a great, hopefully, an actual thing that's implemented into the PS5, especially with Xbox. I don't know if you've played around with there's like that quick resume option where you can jump from game to game that's on your Xbox Series. But how do you feel about this, Callum?
Yeah. So on the topic of, because I've always been a little bit hard on the PS5 UI, but I think that's because it was when a next gen console comes out, you expect like something like mystical, and it was really fast and everything. But I think maybe I was a bit too hard on it, because now I've used the Series S, I realize how next gen the kind of PS5 UI and OS actually is. I mean, it's I don't know if you feel the same, but the PS5 is so much faster, like to get things and to do things. And I've also had quite a few problems on my Xbox with just things not working. Like when I first got it, it wouldn't let me buy Game Pass. It just kept giving me an error, and I had to go through loads of troubleshooting online, and it keeps asking me to enter my password as well, which apparently is another bug. So I've had a bit of a disruptive experience with the Xbox. I mean, Game Pass is amazing. When I'm in the games, it's great, and Quick Resume is absolutely brilliant. But yeah, this just reminded me that I think now I've played on the other, console out of the two. There's certain things about the Xbox I prefer, and now I kind of like some things about the PS5 more, because I kind of didn't realize what it was like with the Xbox. And I think for sure I much prefer the UI, but it's also nice to know that there are some changes coming, because it is not perfect by any means.
Yeah, no, same. And I think my only big takeaway or negative for the Series S is really how stuff is arranged. And apparently, you can kind of customize that main screen a little bit, but just the way things are arranged, where I want to quickly jump into a game where it's showing me what's new on Game Pass or like what my friends doing. It's like I want to be able to kind of just see my games and quickly jump around. And
Yeah.
apparently, there are some options I need to mess with, but Yeah, it's with PS5. I don't know if I have a thought at the end of the day that actually changes my mind. The only thing I want with the PS5 is letting me hold the power button on the DualSense to turn it off. I missed that from the PS4. Let me do that
Yeah,
again, and I'm a happy camper.
yeah, yeah.
But
That's and I think that's what I mean. I think problems like that, like, oh, nicer to hold this down or not have to hold this down to do this, and they're all things that I still agree with them felt. But I think now after using the Xbox, which I got the Xbox originally because I thought, oh, I'm kind of bored of PC problems, mostly because of work and also just because like the Xbox app is a pain in the ass and
yeah,
PCs can just be a pain in general. By no means I'm going to stop using it, but I just thought I'll get the console. Game Pass is better and everything. And yeah, straight away I've been having like the same, and because obviously it's Microsoft, it's the same kind of errors, like the same something went wrong, like
right.
Microsoft errors that you see all the time. And I was just like, oh, I forgot that at the end of the day, this is still Microsoft, and everything they
Yeah,
make is terrible. But no, I mean, Game Pass is amazing. All the games are amazing. I've been playing like Fable,
nice.
Anniversary, and it's yeah. I mean, in terms of a games console, it's easily the best like choice out of them all at the end of the day because the price. I mean, I'm playing on a 4K TV as well, and it upscales. I don't even notice any difference. And yeah, it's a fantastic bit of kit. But when it comes to the operating system and when you're not in a game, like yeah, I have been a little bit struggling a little bit with that.
Yep, I hear you. I hear you on that. Already come got the next one here. Spider-Man comes to Marvel's Avengers. So this is from IGN preview. We have, it turns out the PlayStation exclusive character won't have any story missions tied to him. Rather, this is simply a hero event where you can experience existing and new content as Peter Parker. Footage first focused on combat, where Spider-Man is described as a more nimble Black Panther with standard punches and kicks to go alongside moves more akin to what you expect out of Spidey. His three heroic abilities are Web Bomb, a Spider Drone, and the ultimate ability titled Wrecking Ball. Next up is the all-important web swinging, which doesn't appear to be on the same level as Insomniac's Marvel Spider-Man. Rather than attaching every web to a nearby building or object, Spider-Man effectively swings from a glass ceiling. According to IGN, the mechanic apparently feels fairly good for a second or two until you land back on the floor. You lose all your sense of momentum at that point. Wall running is also said to be quite restrictive. Crystal Dynamics revealed that the voice actor Sean Chiplock would be the one portraying the web slinger instead of the traditional one on Insomniac's Spider-Man. Spider-Man comes to Marvel's Avengers November 30th. We've talked about before. I don't think we're impressed or care at all. But what do you think about now? We have some footage. We can see Spider-Man in action in Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah, I think it's kind of bizarre because like the thing you just read says it's going to be compared to Insomniac's one, and it's just going to be so. I mean, not we shit on this game all the time, but not to sound like horrible, but Insomniac Spider-Man is like a million times better, more fun game. So to be able to play such like a close experience like with the same character from a game that came out maybe the same year or within like a year of each other, it's just going to be middling, I imagine. I can't I don't know what the fan base is like, but I can't imagine that there's much people left playing this, so it's going to be interested in trying this because you can just play Spider-Man, which I
Right.
imagine would be a much better experience. So yeah, I mean, I know we're always very negative on this game, and I try my best not to be, but it's just one of those where you just can't bring yourself to, or I can't bring myself to be excited about it or think of anything exciting to say about it.
Yeah, I do find it interesting. I was assuming from the get go that Insomniac was involved, or we're gonna at least see that same Spider-Man transition over, but it's not that at all. So you notice his outfit is not the same from Spider-Man on PS4, PS5, different voice actor. Although we had in the original Spider-Man on PS4, there was reference to Avengers, and people were theorizing, okay, they're kind of trying to bridge this gap into this next Marvel game. But I wonder if they're waiting to see the reception or how Crystal Dynamics did with Avengers to see, do we want to actually have these two play together or just kind of keep them separate? And I just find that interesting where I wonder if there was a deal early on to integrate Insomniac Spider-Man, and because of the reception, they just decided let's just make our own Spider-Man, keep it separate, and so that we kind of don't mess with that original property if this thing isn't received well.
Yeah, I'm just watching the video now. I didn't actually know it wasn't the Insomniac character either. Um, it just looks bad. It just doesn't look. It just looks like it's got no. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't look good.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, especially and that's the thing. Like, if we didn't have a Spider-Man game to compare it to that's so recent, it would probably be, it wouldn't look so bad. But I mean, this just looks like miles off of anything, Spider-Man related we've had over the past few years. It's just, yeah. But I mean, I think that's basically just the game in full, isn't it?
right, yeah. And it's at the end of the day, maybe it's just not for us, or the people that are playing this really love it. But and they mentioned in that IGN preview, he's kind of a reskinned version of the Black Panther character, which was with the way he moves, but you have the web swinging added to it.
Hmm.
I don't know if until I can actually like, get this in my hands and play it, maybe it's actually way more fun. I don't know if that's the case, but
Yeah.
it's just you have such a great game with Insomniac's Spider-Man. I'll just go play that if I have any urge to play Spider-Man.
There's a Marvel game on mobile, like a a kind of like MMO kind of game, which, but when you just like you're lying in bed and you just download some weird game and play it for like an hour and never play it again. And it looks the same as this. Like the
Mm,
game the same, and that's on a phone. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just down on it, and so
yeah,
probably being a bit overlooked. It just looks like there's no like I don't know. There's just nothing to it. It looks like really weirdly lit. Like all the colors are like just one tone almost. Like it's
yeah.
making me pass out. It's like his suit's so red. But yeah, I don't know. It's yeah. I won't be playing it if you couldn't guess.
I got that vibe. Yeah. Nor will I unless it's like it's free, it's on somehow. I wake up and I'm already
Sometimes
playing.
a
It's like
gun to your
okay,
head.
yeah. All right, I mentioned before we had some speculation, some news on Returnal DLC. So we have Returnal DLC announcement at the Game Awards 2021 question mark. House Marquee tweets spark speculation. So the original article here is from PlayStationLifestyle.net, but it's really the heart of it is this tweet from Housemark showing some kind of helmet thing going on with the phrase that says Atropos question mark, and the actual article from PlayStation Lifestyle says that no one's aware of what this screenshot is from, or what it's referencing. So are we going to see hopefully some DLC? What do you think about this?
I think Return will be a perfect game to get DLC. I do really want to go back to it, so I'm excited, for this because I think when DLC comes out, it's always a great reason or a good way to get you back into a game that you're struggling to find time for. So yeah, but I think it'll fit, the kind of game Turnaways really well, and yeah, hopefully it's enough to get me back onto it because yeah, I do really really want to try it again.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure they've talked about DLC will come eventually. It makes sense to have all the views on the Game Awards to use that as a way to announce something. We'll see. Yeah, I'm hopeful that this new biome or whatever they add is something that's cool enough to get me to jump in. But until they, add some more gameplay stuff, modifications, I don't know if I'll be jumping in. But I'll watch people play it because I cannot actually play these games. But we got that some rumors on Returnal. So we got the next one here is Sony could be planning a PlayStation mobile controller. Patent suggests. Here's another patent. This is from VideoGamesChronicle.com. The patent, which was published this week by SIE's Japanese division, describes a system for playing games on a device coupled with two controller grips. The controller, which resembles PS4's DualShock 4 rather than PS5's newer DualSense, is described as a left side grip portion and a right side grip portion, gripped by the left and the right hands of the user. According to the patent, the included drawings of the device omit a shaft portion that can be tilted by the user and detect the tilting direction and tilting amount of the shaft portion. So I guess motion mechanics similar to the DualSense itself, or the DualShock. But what do you think about this controller? I know there is an Xbox One. There's others that exist that allow you to put your phone in the middle. This seems like a Sony equivalent, but what do you think about this?
Yeah, is it is it PlayStation Now you can play on your phone, or
Yes.
there's like, yeah, there's something. So yeah, I think it's a cool way to promote that. It's something I've always like really wanted to try, but I don't think my internet currently is up to the task. But it's something that I'm really interested in, is trying like streaming console games or Steam games or whatever using an actual controller. So it'd be cool if because anything like this, you know, shows that maybe they're trying to make it as accessible as possible. So yeah, I think it's a cool sort of avenue to go down, and it just offers us more ways to play games in bed or on the toilet or something.
Yep, exactly. And the fact that it looks like a DualShock 4, I'm such a nerd where it's like, even if I don't have any desire to play these games mobily, it's like I would still buy this to test it out, to have it. It looks like a cool, could be a cool little thing to have. I have tried on Xbox Series S, I have tried streaming games from my console to my phone, and there's a bunch of little add-on deals that let you snap your phone onto a controller, and it works pretty well. Like I play a little bit of Infinite like that, and it's fine. I wouldn't primarily play it that way, and I imagine the same for PlayStation Now, where it's like it's possible, but if you need that one for one really precise gameplay, like a first person shooter multiplayer, not going to be how I primarily play that. But if I'm playing like a Ratchet and Clank, something that's a bit more forgiving, this could be really cool. And the fact that it looks like a DualShock looks even better.
Yeah, well, it's a good option to have as well, isn't it? It reminds me for some reason. Did you ever see that cartoon called Cat Dog?
Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
it reminds me of Cat Dog. They could
Exactly.
definitely make a cat dog like skin for it, and I would definitely buy
Nice. Yeah. Cat dog controller confirmed.
that.
Already come. That's all we got for the news of the week. What do you think about what are you going to be playing this week or up to this week?
So I do want to finish Fable Anniversary. It's actually the first time I've played Anniversary. I've played the first Fable game. I think it's called like the Lost Chapters. A few times before, so I've never played this remake. And it's good because the first Fable game's really good, but the I'm not too keen on the like reworked graphics. That I
Mm,
feel like the first Fable game was kind of cartoony and had like a proper style to it. Um, and with this one, they've tried it's kind of like semi-realistic and quite jarring, and has like like you can see they've tried to have like really ultra realistic lighting in it, but sometimes it just doesn't fit, that doesn't go.
yeah.
So and it doesn't run too well either, so I don't think it's one of the boosted games. But yeah, I do want to finish that because I want to play through all three of the Fable games. They caught my eye on Game Pass. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. Maybe some more Forza. I'm playing some Forza and things like that. I need to finish Mafia as well on the PlayStation. I think I'm just sort of in that honeymoon period for my Xbox at the moment. Just need
Yeah.
to um, just get over that, and then I'll probably be back on PlayStation. But I want to finish Mafia because I was enjoying that.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I've been that way for a couple weeks now where I haven't really been playing my PS5 at all. I think Far Cry 6 was the last one, and it's been all Xbox with Forza, with Infinite. I'm just fully in that space right now, but it's just because there isn't a crazy like PlayStation game this holiday. But I know what January, February we start getting cool stuff. SIFU comes out February. Maybe that Returnal DLC is pretty soon. So the next year does look really good, and then we have eventually you got Horizon coming out, God of War. It's like it's going to be a dope year, but there's just nothing this holiday. To touch on Fable real quick, so Playground, who made Forza Horizon, that whole series, they're next up working on Fable, and I'm really interested to see how that game's going to look because the open world tech in Forza is crazy beautiful. The way it renders stuff super fast and just looks crazy awesome. I wonder, and it's not one for one, but it's like having that engine with Fable could be really dope with open world. I imagine as long as they nail the story and make it still fun and that soul of Fable in there, I'm really excited to see what they end up showing.
Yeah, I absolutely love Fable, and yeah, I'm really excited to see what comes, from the Playground Games version as well. Um, Something quite interesting as well about Fable, which I loved when I started my job, but the art director at the Chinese room is called John McCormack, and he's a really really lovely guy, and he was the art director on all three Fable games, which
Dang.
makes him kind of like a legendary famous person to me. And yeah, I was pretty starstruck at first when I heard what he had worked on. But yeah, so that was really cool because I've always been a massive fan of Fable. Even the third one, which I know less people like, but I still really enjoyed it. Um, and yeah, that's one really nice thing about getting a Series S is that, you know, these games you aren't on Game Pass on PC, and even if they were, there'd be some problem probably with it where it wouldn't run unless I turned my firewall off or something
Right.
stupid. So it's been nice being able to like play these classic games for really really easily, and you know, and I know that a lot of them are FPS boosted and everything. So really excited just to be able to play all these old games really really easily through Game Pass.
Yeah, that's one thing Microsoft is nailing again, the way they have supported all these old games and transferring them to work, and not just like the bare bones. It's the same game that works on, you know, the series or the Xbox One. There's a lot of FPS boosts you get and resolution boosts you get with a lot of these older games. With that terrible anniversary event you mentioned last week, they announced 70 more titles that are just gonna be transferred over that work on current hardware. And I think that ends their program of bringing the back catalog program. But they ended
Mm.
at like 250 something games that they brought back to life, and it's just they're nailing it with that, with supporting those games and allowing people to, you know, play them and increasing their catalog for what's available too.
Yeah, and I saw how you can buy, you know, old Xbox or Xbox 360 games on the digital store as well, because
Nice.
I'd completely forgotten that the Series S doesn't have a disc a disc drive as well.
Yeah.
So when I found out Max Payne 3 wasn't on Game Pass, I still need to buy it. I was worried that I'd have to have, you know, got the disc version, but I have seen it's on the store, and there's loads of all the other games they added to the backwards compatibility thing are all on the store anyway, and not you know, not very expensive. But so yeah, so it is. I am really enjoying Game Pass and all the backwards compatibility stuff. It's basically like an emulator because you can just play all these old games
Yeah.
really really easily. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's just, you know, I think I work every day with Microsoft, like, so I'm just very irritated every time I use something by them that errors and things. So it's probably just my luck that I've been getting all these weird bugs and things.
Well, Callum, you just have to upgrade to Windows 11 and all your problems will be fixed. So
Yeah, I know, but
don't worry
I
about
think
it.
I need to get a new computer.
Alrighty, man. We'll end it there for the week. Where can they find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Bear Monroe. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else anywhere else to find me. I hope.
Gotcha. That's where you live. Alrighty, Callum. Well, you can
Yeah.
also find us on Twitter as well at PetScarPod. That's it for us this week. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.